name is Franchetti, and I am a developer advocate, and I'm currently unemployed, so if you're hiring, that's me. It's my absolute privilege today to talk to you about a topic that's super close to my heart, which, as Andrew mentioned, is mentoring. And I've been mentoring junior developers at CodeBar for 4 years now, and I would like to share with you some of the amazing things that I have learned while teaching other people, and maybe in the process convince you to give mentoring a go yourselves. So the first thing that I'd like to ask you to do is to cast your minds back to when you started your careers. Now, for some of you, this might not have been very long ago. For others of you, maybe it was a little bit longer ago. And when you started out, you were in your first junior role, did you feel comfortable 100% of the time? Did you feel like you knew what you were doing every day? Did you feel like you had the support and the attention that you needed? Did you feel like you had someone that you could ask the stupid questions to? Now, my own career as a web developer started when I decided that I just graduated in a degree in a subject that I hated, and therefore was going to do something else. So I taught myself HTML and CSS by copying other people's code, and built up a portfolio, and just gave it a go. But the problem was that when I got stuck, I had a tendency to stay stuck. When a piece of functionality that I was trying to build wasn't working, or a piece of layout wasn't going where I expected it to go, I didn't know what to do, and I had no idea where to look for help. I had nobody to ask for help. And to be honest, I didn't even know what question I was asking at the time, let alone where to even look for the answer. And asking a question can be really scary when you're already unsure and feeling like you don't know what you're doing, especially when it feels like everyone else already knows the answer. And I really wished that I'd had someone that I could just turn to and be like, oh, this isn't working, what am I doing wrong? I really needed a mentor, someone that would be able to point me in the right direction. And that's why I got into mentoring, because I wanted to be the person that I hadn't had. I didn't want anyone else entering the industry to go through that sort of fear and loneliness that I'd gone through. And getting into mentoring, I discovered something wonderful. And that's that, yes, I was helping my fellow developers, and yes, I was making a positive change for the industry as a whole, but I also made a positive change for myself. And I learned new things, and I developed myself as much as I was helping the students that I was working with. And mentoring has absolutely entirely changed my life. I wouldn't be a developer advocate if I hadn't mentored, and I certainly wouldn't be here talking to any of you. And as a good mentor does, I'd like to share with you some of the things that I've learned so that you can take them away and start making a difference too. But before I do, something that I'd like to share, and something that I think is really important, and in fact something that we've already talked about tonight, is the fact that the web is for everyone, technology is for everyone, and mentoring is for everyone as well. It's not just for senior developers, it's not just for middleweights. If you're a junior, you can mentor as well. All you're doing when you're mentoring is making information that you already know available and achievable for everyone else. It's likely that you have already mentored someone at some point. Anytime somebody asks you to explain something or asks you to teach them something, you were their mentor at that point. And don't get me wrong, I completely understand the fears of getting started with mentoring. And I'll admit that at first I was reluctant to start when all of my friends were starting to teach at CodeBar, and they were saying, you should come along. I had this giant imposter syndrome kicking in, and I thought, well, how can I ever be any use to these other developers? I don't know everything there is to know about web development. But the thing is that no one expects you to know everything. And in fact, the belief that it's even possible to know everything is what's causing so many of us to suffer from anxiety and imposter syndrome in the first place. Admitting that you don't know something is one of the most powerful things that you can do as a mentor. And our industry needs more of us to start talking about the fact that we don't know everything, to start asking for help, and to start talking about not knowing things. But if there is one thing that we're really good at as developers, it's looking stuff up. Through practice and sometimes desperation, we've become pretty good at finding the answer that we need to a question. And teaching how to find an answer is just as important as teaching the answer itself. You teach what you know, and you and your student can then explore through the things that you don't know. And for those of you who are concerned about being too junior to mentor, you've also got experience that you can share. It doesn't necessarily have to be tech experience, but also, if you are a junior, you've gone through the experience of getting your first job in tech. You've been through the process, you've done all the interviews. There's a lot that you can tell someone who's on that first rung, trying to get that first interview. Not only that, but teaching people is an absolutely brilliant way to make the things that you're learning stick in your head. Now, I'm sure you've all heard this saying before, but teaching a subject will help you get a better grip on that subject yourself. And teaching someone is a great way to fill in the gaps in your own knowledge. You can't get away with having confusion or spots in your knowledge when you have a student, because they're going to ask for clarification, and you're going to have to work out your own confusion, and then you can both learn together, and it's brilliant. By the time you've explained the topic to a handful of different students, all of whom have their own questions, problems, plans to build things with that knowledge, your own knowledge of that subject is going to be so encyclopedic that when you come up to a problem in a piece of work that you're working on, the answer is going to be at your fingertips and no longer at the end of the Stack Overflow guide, because you've already done that with 20 people. And if you think that there are no gaps in your knowledge, by the way, you're either a very rare genius or you're deluded. Coming up with ways to make a concept accessible to a beginner is going to make you consider it from new angles and explore nuances that you haven't perhaps thought about before. I heard a brilliant quote the other day from Claire Sudbury, who's the lead developer at ThoughtWorks, and she said that deep-held knowledge is worth nothing if it can't be communicated. If you feel like you know your subject inside out, but you can't explain it to your colleagues, or to a junior that you're working with, or to someone that you're managing, then that's a huge problem. The evidence of true mastery of a concept is the ability to explain it, in simple terms, to someone who is less experienced than you are. And making your knowledge accessible is an incredibly important part of becoming a better developer and a better colleague. When we talk to our team members about a problem or solution, or even when we're writing code, we want them to be able to understand what we mean. And practice communicating a complicated topic to a layperson will help improve your skills of communication in general. How many times have you had to explain to a client or a manager or a non-technical colleague about why a certain piece of work is going to take longer than expected? Or to a content manager, maybe why uploading 3 meg images to the CMS is suboptimal? It's common for developers to suffer from this thing that we call assumed knowledge syndrome, which is where we say things like, obviously, blah, 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 or X technology is easy, or even worse, the cop-out answer, because it's best practice. And this can be incredibly alienating for junior developers, for those trying to learn, or anyone who just isn't quite at the same level of understanding that you are. I've lost count of the number of times that I've attended talks where the speaker has said something like easy or obviously when giving a technical talk. And I've sat in the audience and gone, it's not that obvious to me, but maybe I'm an idiot. And yet I still made the mistake of teaching CSS to my CodeBar students saying, oh, CSS is easy. But luckily, some of them have had the confidence to correct me and said, well, it might be easy for you, but I'm still learning this stuff. I've always been taught that when dealing with students or junior developers, the thing that we teach at CodeBar is to assume zero knowledge and infinite intelligence. That way, I no longer leave gaps in my explanations or call subjects easy or shame people when they haven't heard of something or haven't used it before or just don't quite understand it yet. It'll make you a much more pleasant person to work with. This is an XKCD comic that I think very nicely illustrates this point. Stop being the person who says, oh my god, I can't believe that you don't know the thing. Be the person who says, oh my god, this is so great, you are going to love this thing. Let me show you. We want to be people who encourage learning and questions and excitement And as developers, especially on the web, there are constantly new things to be learning, new frameworks, new tools, new libraries, and it's very easy to start feeling jaded about new things, even to feel anxiety around not keeping up with those things. And working with junior developers can reignite your passion for learning. Their positivity and their keenness to learn new things is absolutely contagious. We should all be learning all the time, we should all be excited about learning. We should encourage asking questions and encourage looking for answers. Sharing knowledge is a huge part of being a developer, and shaming people for asking questions is one of the things that makes the tech industry so uninclusive. Not just that, but understanding that people learn in different ways is also important, and people work in different ways. Understanding this will make us much more pleasant to work with. Let people process the information in the way that they need to. Some people are visual learners. Some people need to write things down. Some people need to talk through their problems. Understanding how others and you yourself work is the first step to making learning more fun and less stress. So, for example, if you're working with someone, find out whether they want you to talk them through a problem, or whether they want to ask questions and work on their own. Do they prefer working face-to-face? Do they prefer remote meetings? And if your mentees get stuck, try and imagine how you would feel in that moment. Think about why they're reacting in the way that they are. Having empathy and understanding is a super important part of teaching and being a good colleague, because everyone has had different experiences, everyone's had a different route into the tech industry. Sometimes people have had bad or traumatic experiences that make them act differently to how you might expect. Maybe you're accidentally making them feel stupid because they can't keep up with you. Maybe they're feeling overwhelmed or overloaded. Don't worry about having to slow down or repeat what you're saying, or just check in with them, saying, I know that I've said that and you've said yes, that you get it, but should we go over that again? There's no such thing as a stupid question, and if your student or colleague doesn't know something, it's much better that they turn and ask you than they spend 4 hours troubling over it and going over it on their own. But making someone feel comfortable enough to ask you a question is one step, but feeling comfortable enough to show someone else that you don't know something is another, and it's something that our entire industry needs to do more of. The tech industry has this harmful idealization of the tech celebrity, the person who knows everything, who works all the time, who's constantly productive, who picks up new tools and new techniques instantly, how they've written a new popular library while you were still struggling to learn the previous one. But what we never hear about is their foibles. We don't hear about their down days or the times when they needed to ask for help. We don't know how many people helped them to get to where they are right now. We forget that these people are specialists. They don't know everything. They just know one thing really well that they're probably vocal about. And perfectionism in tech comes from our fear of not being as good as these people that we're seeing, our fear that we'll make a mistake or that our work will be criticized. How many of you have left a project unfinished because you couldn't get it exactly perfectly how you wanted it to be? How many of you have felt paralyzed about starting a project because you couldn't decide the exact perfect way to start? We need to feel safe and secure to ask questions, to have an off day, to not pick things up instantly. When people stop worrying about not knowing things, they have a lot more mental energy to actually start learning things and to feel confident in their own ability. And not only can teaching improve your knowledge, but speaking on a subject to somebody else will improve your confidence. A few years ago, I'd never imagined standing on stage in front of people talking, but now I do it for a job, and I love it. And not only will you have the confidence of your newly cemented knowledge, but you'll have the respect and gratitude of your mentees, and that can't help but bolster your confidence. Having students turn to you at the end of a session and tell you that you are the reason why they finally understand this topic, or that you're their inspiration for wanting to learn more, it just is an incredible feeling, and hopefully that'll push you to try new and more daunting things. A big part of being a mentor, in my opinion, is becoming an advocate for your mentee. I heard a really lovely description from the people at Code Newbies, which is a group of people who are all learning, who all help each other to learn every day, and they said that you should celebrate your student to the point of exhaustion. You become their kind of one-person cheer squad, celebrating their victories and encouraging them to reach higher, to try new things, to meet new people, to apply for that job. And you also help them to feel like they belong in this industry and that they can make it through if they put in the work. Some people have a tendency when they find something hard to start self-doubting, and they will self-doubt to the point where they will exclude themselves and start feeling like tech isn't for them. Celebrating their victories helps them to know that they're welcome and that they belong here. And interestingly, these are things that we're sometimes not very good at doing for ourselves. How many times have you told a friend to ask for a raise or negotiate for a higher salary, but then not done it for yourself when it came to it? One of the things that I found is that being an advocate for other people means that you start to learn to advocate for yourself. After all, you can only dish out so much excellent advice before you start taking it yourself. We live impatient lives these days. Everything is available on demand, and we're told that impatience as a programmer is a good thing because it makes us more effective, it makes us strive to build better and faster products and use better and faster tools. But it can also often make us unpleasant people to be around. How many of you have had a parental technical support call recently? And did you stay calm throughout the time? I know I've snapped at my family on the phone a few times, and I'm the kind of Londoner who talks when someone doesn't get through the has to go fast enough. But mentoring has introduced me to an internal well of patience that I didn't know that I had. It turns out I have infinite amounts of patience for someone who is legitimately trying to learn. And what I couldn't have predicted is that this newfound patience has had a humanizing effect on the rest of my life. I'm slower to anger, I'm better at dealing with frustration in a positive way, and I'm better at understanding that frustration is a means to an end. So whether I'm learning a new language or a new framework or just fixing a bug, I'm much better at dealing with that instant frustration. Your blood pressure will thank you. And by meeting and working with those who are trying to break into the tech industry, especially those from groups which are currently underrepresented in the tech industry, you can't help but increase your own cognitive diversity, which is your ability to understand more viewpoints and to consider things from other angles. But we don't all think or process information in the same way, and understanding this is really important to creating an inclusive working environment and creating accessible products and services. An example that I'd like to share with you that really taught me. I was working with a student of mine on a website that she was making for an organization called Sister Space. They ran meetups for women who don't get to leave the house very often, or who don't get to hang out with other women. And my student was adding some finishing touches to this website, including a giant purple rosette button that followed you up and down the page as you scrolled. And on this rosette was a CTA that said, "Leave site." And when you clicked on it, it was a link to the YouTube homepage. And now I was really confused. So, are you trying to make your users leave your site with such a giant, intrusive call to action? And she patiently explained to me that it was for women who might have had a controlling or abusive partner. They didn't want that partner to know that they'd been using the site, so they can quickly navigate away if the partner walks into the room or tries to look over their shoulder. Now, I would never have thought of this use case, and now that I have, I cannot stop thinking about how little we know about the people who use our websites. And as developers, it's sometimes easy to think that nothing is more important than building the next feature or using the most up-to-date technology. And user testing and contextual research can feel like a painful pause in our productivity. But finding out who wants your product and what they might be using it for is just as important as how you make it. By skipping out on getting to know your audience, you could end up building things that they don't want or they can't use, or that could even be dangerous to them. There are too many examples of tech built by undiverse teams that are not only unusable, but also harmful. Be it websites without a thought for accessibility, automatic hand dryers that only work for people with white hands, or even seatbelts that cause spinal injuries to women. If you have access to your users for feedback, use it. If you get to talk to people outside of your normal social sphere, talk to them. Things like mentoring at CodeBot gives you access to a whole load of people that you might not normally meet. And by not only working on neurocognitive diversity, but also encouraging people from minority groups into the tech industry, we're increasing our ability to problem solve and to provide better and more valuable products and services. But mentoring doesn't have to be all about the tech. You've got all kinds of experience that you can share with those who are coming up the ladder after you, be it advice on getting a job, or managing your workload, or writing a good CV, or interview practice, how to spot a toxic work environment, or even just being a buddy to attend a conference with. I've also heard of some offices implementing backwards mentoring, which is where a junior is mentoring a director or executive. And if you've ever worked with C-level folks who've been on six-figure salaries in six-bedroom mansions for so long that they can't remember what it was like surviving on a junior salary or working overtime for no extra pay just because they're afraid to lose their jobs, then maybe you'll understand why backwards mentoring is so important. But mentoring doesn't have to be only about improving your skills and learning new languages or frameworks. Making your job application process more pleasant and less stressful counts. You're helping juniors to get into the industry. I've lost count of the number of juniors that I've worked with who have just been lost midway through the application process. They haven't heard back, or even they've been to an interview and haven't heard back. Improve your onboarding of new colleagues to make sure that they're happy and comfortable. This is a brilliant thing that you can do to help your junior colleagues. Support your colleagues to get a promotion. Support your colleagues to take the time off that they need. All of these things count as mentoring. And there's no one right path into tech. The more people you mentor, the more you'll learn that everyone has different experiences. And everyone has different difficulties to surmount before they can put that first foot on the first rung of the tech career ladder. And for some people, that's a relatively simple step. For some, maybe they need a little bit of encouragement. And for some, that first rung is so far out of reach that it's up to us who are already on the ladder to reach down and give them a hand. So I hope that you're now convinced to give mentoring a go. But we should talk about what it is to be a good mentor, and also how you can find mentees. And there are so many meetups across the UK and the whole world for people who are looking to learn. And getting involved in these is a great way to get started with mentoring. It's not just CodeBot, there are lots of them out there, and they all have a brilliant structured way to get you into mentoring and to give you access to the people who need help. This is just a few organizations that would benefit from your time and expertise, and there really is no excuse not to get involved. Maybe make it your New Year's resolution. And if you don't want to get involved with one of these, maybe you have a junior colleague or a non-technical colleague who would like some help in learning development they're hoping to achieve and what outcomes they're aiming for. Listen to them and care what matters to them. Find out how they want to learn, what makes them comfortable, what makes them uncomfortable, and then you can prioritize the things that you can work on. And don't forget to celebrate their achievements. That way you're also building up their confidence and reinforcing good behavior. Mentees often want approval from their mentors, and acknowledging their success is a great way to satisfy that psychological need for recognition. Work out how regularly you'll be able to meet and how often those meetings are going to occur. Are they going to be face-to-face? Are they going to be video? Are they going to be text tracked? Do they enjoy pairing, or do they prefer working on their own? Do they prefer small problems or big projects to work on? And be, as I said earlier, super clear about your own time constraints. Have regular and honest reviews about how well both of you are doing and whether or not you're achieving the goals that you set, and track your progress and change your schedule if necessary. And when you're mentoring someone, you might feel pressured to start giving them advice straight away, but don't be afraid to leave space for your mentee to talk. Silence can often feel uncomfortable, especially for the very British of us. But it's sometimes essential for finding out what it is that your mentee actually needs. I'm sure you all possess all kinds of accumulated wisdom, but your mentee isn't an empty vessel for you to pour your knowledge into. It's unfair on them if you drone on, taken with your own brilliance. You have to listen to what your mentee is saying before giving your own opinion. Find out their point of view. They often bring insights and perspectives that you might not have thought of. Also, set up a method for getting regular feedback on them for how they think they're progressing and how you're doing as a mentor. And remember that feedback isn't criticism. If somebody gives you feedback, don't take it as a negative thing or as something that you've missed. Take it as their belief in you that you are going to listen to what they said and make a difference and change. That you can do something positive for them. People need to know how well they did. They need concrete, constructive feedback and even critical feedback too. Keep your mentees in your mind when you hear of new opportunities, when you're speaking to other people who say that they're hiring. Speak up for them whenever you can. If you do hear people say that they're hiring or that they might be hiring in the future, I happen to be mentoring this brilliant young person. You should talk to them. Attend events with them. If you've got a good personal network or standing in tech, use that to get them a stronger foothold in the tech industry. This idea of sponsorship can take very little effort from us, but it makes a huge difference to your mentees' prospects. The mentees that I've worked with are an absolute inspiration. Many of them are learning while holding down jobs or still in education or supporting families, and they bring a positivity to their studies that is absolutely infectious. They're eager to learn and try new things, and we could all do with a little bit more positivity and excitement, especially when encouraging junior developers. My students have taught me that there's so much to gain from trying new things and very little to lose, and their passion for constant improvement helps to drown out that voice of imposter syndrome. Since I started teaching, I've given talks, I've run events, I've written blog posts, none of which I would have done before for fear of failing. There's a Hebrew word which is called fergan, which describes genuine delight or pride in the accomplishments of another person. And that's the best description that I've been able to find for the joy that mentoring can bring. So I hope that today will not only give you new skills and new excitement for great tech, but also a desire to share that knowledge with others and to make our industry the best that it can be. Thank you for listening.
Thank you ever so much everybody for coming, and I hope everyone has a fantastic Christmas and New Year. And there are some drinks left over, I'm being told, so feel free to grab some drinks, but be quick.